Well, good afternoon, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here, WilhiteWX.com. Want to bring you a quick update here on the snow expected here in the lower Ohio Valley over the next few days. We're setting into a very cold pattern. It's a sunny day out here on this Saturday. I'm recording this at around the noon hour here on November the 10th, 2018. And, it's just dry and it's cold out here, but that's about to change. And we have potentially some accumulating snow on the way here as we get into Monday and Tuesday. So let's dive right into the data here. And we got a pretty deep trough coming in next week. You notice all these blue lines that are on here. So these are our lines, height lines in the upper levels of the atmosphere here. And just sort of look at where this goes in here. This is basically just a very deep trough coming in here out of Canada. So cold air is being filtered in down here. This is the forecast for early Monday morning. This would be about 7 a.m. Eastern time on Monday morning. And what you've got at the base of this trough is you've got a low pressure beginning to form down here, cyclogenesis. And so you've got precipitation already starting to break out at the base of that trough. That snow is eventually, I'm not being able to draw very well with a mouse, but eventually going to move up sort of in this direction as we go throughout the day. So as we head to about 1 o'clock on Monday, the GFS does not have it here into the lower Ohio Valley yet, but it starts to break it out between 1 and about 6 or 7 o'clock that evening time here. You see it starts off as some rain under this idea, but then you very quickly see the cold air advection is coming in here, and we're transitioning it to snow on the backside as it goes through. This gives southern Indiana and even portions of central Indiana on into Ohio, and just a small little tiny blip here of Kentucky and Illinois a chance at some snow as well before it starts to push off to the east there. Now, the GFS is getting an upgrade, and the test version of the GFS is a little bit more robust with the precipitation shield. You can see that the snow rain line here as it starts to set in here comes a little bit quicker. So this is, the precipitation actually doesn't really set in here, begin here until about 1 in the afternoon on Monday. And watch how quickly it goes to just all snow rather than some rain for southern Indiana. And so this would mean a snowier solution than it would under the GFS. And it pretty much keeps that rain snow line right along the Ohio River until the low is pulled up enough away that you get very light snow in Kentucky with this as a result of that. The Canadian is in a similar vein to these. You see there it is. There is a cyclogenesis going on. It's rounding the base of the trough. And as the low pressure develops and starts to go up this way, here you go. We start off as rain, a cold rain here for much of southern Indiana and a cold rain for all of Kentucky here. This would be 7 p.m. on Monday. There's snow breaking out to the north. That quickly changes over to everything. It's a minor event for it under the Canadian, as it is under the GFS, a little heavier event underneath the test GFS. Just for fun, here's what the Euro says. The Euro shows a very similar idea. It's just later to the party. Here we are by about the evening time hours, and again, you're just now starting to see rain break out into the area, and then the rain, by the time you get into the overnight hours, it transitions to snow, and it's a very light event for everyone around the area as well. Let's switch to the high-res models. Now, the NAM is just now starting to see this event, all right? So this is not going to be the most reliable and the best of data yet, but it's what we've got, and the NAM will start to get more reliable, I think, as we get over in time. But here's what it does. You start to see by Sunday night into Monday, you've got a first little wave moving in. That kind of peters out, if you will, here, and it just goes through central and northern Indiana. Here's your big wave, the main event back to your south here. This is the high-res NAM. The high-res NAM only sees part of this event, so here's the first part of it. And by about Monday afternoon, so again, this is about 6 to 10 hours maybe or so quicker than what the Euro model is in with this, but it is a high-res data, so that's possible. It overtakes rain across the entire area here before it starts to change it to snow, and it starts to change it to snow here for southern Indiana, but this is where it ends, and this is Monday night at about 7 p.m. here, but it's a healthy-looking little snow on this. Now, not the NAM, the regular NAM, not the high-res NAM, but its lower-res counterpart, sees out to 84 hours, and so it does see this event here. And you can see there it is. It brings it about the same timing. But you see there's the rain, there's the transition to snow. And as you watch this, it just sort of fizzles it out. It basically has a dry air pocket coming into what we call the dendritic growth zone. That's where you get the biggest snow growth zone. If you looked into the upper air charts on this, it brings some dry air into this. And so it just sort of fizzles it out. It really doesn't give much of anything for Kentucky. It's a southern Indiana event as far as the snow is concerned here on this. But it just doesn't give all that much of it. So As far as snow totals, then this is the first time I'll show you guys in the video this map where I think we're within 48 hours of this now, so I think it's pretty safe to do these things. They're starting to get a little bit more reliable. I'm not going to have an official snow forecast out myself until tomorrow, but I'll show you a chance and likely graphic here in just a second as to where I think best chances are for some accumulations. Here is the NAM, the low-res NAM, as I showed you, and you can see it's pathetic. There's really not a whole lot going on, generally less than an inch across most of the region, and you can see there's the very strong cutoff from nothing there. Now, the Canadian is a little bit more robust, but it's not just gung-ho with it. You get about a 1 to 2 inch snow over a good chunk of the area. Again, Kentucky gets a little bit on this action, but it's mostly left out. The heaviest here stays over Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio here. If you go into the GFS, the regular GFS, the operational one, not exactly the most excited about snow for us either. In generally an inch or less for the most part over southern Indiana here. You go up into Ohio, you get a little bit more. Same way down here into southern Illinois, but it's just not a very strong swath of accumulating snow. Now, again, though, the test version of the GFS is much different, and it is very robust. With the snow totals on here. And again, I showed you the reason why earlier. It changes everything to snow without going to rain for southern Indiana first. The GFS is a little bit opposite in that. So the GFS and its newer test version of the GFS are at odds with each other. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, is this possible? Well, if we go all snow, absolutely we could get a little bit more snow totals. That only makes sense. But I'm a little skeptical of these high kind of totals. The Euro, for what it's worth here, generally brings less than an inch across southern Indiana. It's not very excited about our snow totals at all. So what do I think? Well, here's the graphic that I'm going to go with for now. And let me pull this over here onto my desktop so that you can kind of see here. I think the best chance for accumulating snow here is in the blue. And now in the white, you've got a chance for some accumulations as well. Again, I don't think this is going to be a major event. You're not looking at a foot of snow out of this. So for us snow lovers, this is not going to be one for the record books. But it is November after all. And so any snow this early in November is a really great sign for the winter to come. And let me just say, this is really looking similar to the pattern we saw back in November 2014. And we had about a 2 to 4 inch snow in mid-November 2014 across southern Indiana and parts of Kentucky there. And it was a really nice little event. And of course, if you remember that year, it was a pretty brutally cold year. We moderated our temperatures back up a little bit, and everybody was writing it off by the time we got to December because we were in the 40s and 50s, and it wasn't really just doing much of anything. But then if you remember, January and February kicked in, and we had a lot of snow, and we had brutal cold. The polar vortex came for a visit multiple times, and we ended up with a really good winter out of that. And, is that a potential that we're going for a repeat of that? I really think it's a possibility. 2014-15 is one of my strong analog years out of this, and we're already starting to go into a similar pattern that kicked that off. So we'll see. Best chance for accumulating snow here again there, as I say, in the blue. That's where I think you're going to have the better chances. And again, not a huge snow for this, but I think an inch or two is certainly possible out of this, and we'll see if we can trend that any higher in the coming days. I'll have a snowcast official forecast up for you tomorrow afternoon at some point in time, probably with another video here as well. Bottom line right now, not a huge event. Now, why is all this going on? Just really quickly, we'll kind of finish up the video with a little discussion about the pattern here. We're going to look at the upper levels of the atmosphere. We're looking at the energy that goes on here. Here's that trough that's going to dig down and spawn off that surface low, and watch how it sort of digs down into here. You got a little bit of phasing of the jet stream going on, and here's your southern branch and your northern branch coming down here. That's what's going to be responsible for bringing us the snow. That may turn into a pretty decent snow event for you folks up here into the northeast. For those of us here in the lower Ohio Valley, not so much. But here's what I want to show you. We got another event that's going to come down possibly next Saturday. And watch this. So you've got more energy diving down here. Let's go back here to the GFS just for giggles and just kind of put this into motion. And there's that trough coming down. And there it is. It's not the surface map here is not showing a whole lot of snow here for southern Indiana at this point. You see some snow around the area here. Let's put it on the test version of the GFS as well. It's maybe a little bit more robust, not quite there yet either. But again, you see snow showers and things breaking out here as well. It's there on the Canadian as well, just not to the same extent that you would see here on it. The Euro also picking up on this as you go later on in, and there's your next weekend, and it kind of keeps it up there. So there's some questions about that. But if you look at the energy pattern, that's a lot of energy rolling around. And whenever you get cold, dry air, sometimes these upper level waves that move through can find more moisture there to squeeze out of the atmosphere than what the models show, especially this far out when it's a week away. So all that to say, there's not a whole lot we can say yet at this point, but there's a possibility of some snow next weekend around the 16th, 17th time frame as well. So we'll just sort of have to trend that. But after we get that, we do moderate back up a little bit. Notice the ridge starts to pop back up a little bit. We're not talking about extreme warmth here by any means, but there will be a warmer pattern than we are in right now. But as we go in towards Thanksgiving, watch this little piece of energy dive down here. Yet another storm system rolls in. This is the Wednesday here. Tuesday, and then here's Wednesday, right before Thanksgiving. And so on the busiest travel day around the holiday, Thanksgiving holiday, we could definitely see some sort of a storm system in the eastern United States. We'll just have to see that. And then there's more pieces of energy to rotate in as we go throughout the rest of the month. So right now it looks to me, even though temperatures are going to moderate, it does look like we've got an active period. If we just look at the GFS ensembles here for Evansville, Indiana, it can kind of give you an idea of this. Well, we're going to stay pretty doggone cold. Here's your Tuesday forecast, and look at that. By the time you get a little bit of snowpack down there, possibly dipping into the teens here in Indiana, but then you notice a warming trend after that. So it's not going to stay bitterly cold forever. If we look at the possible snow event that we could have in here, maybe up around this is the time frame that you would see up in there on the GFS with that, and you see it's warmer than what it would be for snow, but possibly of the morning time. This may trend down too. We'll just have to see, but certainly within the range that it's not out of the possibility. But you notice a nice warming trend after that. We are going to get back up into the 50s. It looks like around the Thanksgiving time frame, possibly. So that'll be a nice little return. If we're not going to have some snow here to go with it, that'll be a nice return. We don't want it bitterly cold if we're going to have that. And by the way, is this going to last forever? Well, let me just show you the teleconnections here. A little bit more of a nerd discussion here for you, but hang with me if you don't know what these are. This is the Arctic Oscillation. This is blocking in the high latitudes up around the Arctic Ocean, and this basically means cold air is available on the move when it goes in the negative. And you see a strongly negative Arctic Oscillation forecasted by the Euro EPS 46-day ensembles here. An ensemble member, just basically it takes 50 members here and it perturbs it. In other words, it just changes the initial conditions on it to account for the fact that we don't have the atmosphere perfectly modeled. And it runs at 50 different times over that initialization, and then averages them out into a mean. And so the bar graph here indicates the extremes of where this is on the individual members. And then the green line here is your ensemble mean out of this, and the little 25 to 70% of the ensemble members fall into these little black boxes. By and large, that's how you read these things, just so you know. By and large, though, you see a strongly negative Arctic Oscillation through the rest of November and into a good chunk of December here as well. That's a possibility there, and if that means that the cold air would certainly be available for us. We look at the North Atlantic Oscillation here. Again, when it goes negative, we got a block around Greenland, and that can buckle the jet stream and can help to cause slower storms to come through. And look at this, strongly negative here, but here's the problem. We go into the PNA, the Pacific North American pattern. A negative PNA for us means that we've got a ridge over us. Positive PNA means that we got a ridge over the west and a trough over the east. And so we've got the big trough going on right now, and that's what's responsible. It's a highly amplified trough. You can see that there. We're going into more of a ridge pattern. As I said, there will be some moderation, but then watch this. We trend closer to neutral. And we stay neutral here with the PNA. This can always change, but what this would tell me is as we go forward into December, if this is the case, we don't really have a highly amplified ridge or trough over us. It's just more zonal flow east to west in the jet stream. But with that, you can still get some storms roll through there. They'll just roll through faster, and you certainly saw that as I showed you in the modeling here, where it's just a train of one thing after another. So going forward from here, I still think we got plenty of precipitation chances, plenty of things to track. Some of that will be rain, some of it might be snow. We'll just have to see as we go forward, but it looks like an active pattern going on. And if we can get some sort of a wave break out into the ocean, and we can amplify in the jet stream, and we can amplify that jet stream up through one of those wave breaks, with an Arctic Oscillation like this, we could still pump down some serious cold here if we can get one of those again. Data always changes. This is what it looks like right now. But as of right now, I think the brutal cold relaxes, but there's certainly some chances that it can come back if we can get just the right configuration there. Things are looking pretty good for that. So that's where we stand right now, folks. Again, the best chance of accumulating snow for Monday night into Tuesday. over southern Indiana and into maybe portions of central Indiana at this point. An inch or two certainly not out of the question. Likely tomorrow I'll have a snowcast graphic for you with some official predictions. I'm probably going to have a light coating to a 2-inch swath of snow somewhere over southern Indiana, the way things are looking like at this point. But I want to see some more model runs and get them a little bit closer to agreement here before I fire that away. Well, that's it for this update, folks. I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at WilhiteWX for more frequent updates. On Facebook as well. You just type in Southern Indiana weather. You can find me there, and then go to WilhiteWX.com for blog posts and all kinds of other goodies on my website. Take care, folks. See you soon.